We have access to more financial data today than any generation in human history. Yet, despite all the real-time stock tickers, budgeting apps, and instant banking alerts, we keep making the exact same irrational money mistakes. The problem lies in a mental mechanism called heuristics. A heuristic is simply a cognitive shortcut. Your brain receives millions of data points every day, and to keep from freezing up under the processing weight, it uses these built-in rules of thumb to make rapid decisions. For our ancestors, these shortcuts were survival tools. If you heard a twig snap in the woods, you didn't stop to calculate the mathematical probability of a predator. You ran. The heuristic kept you alive. But modern financial markets are not ancient forests. When we apply those fast biological shortcuts to our long-term portfolios, our brains misinterpret the signals. We end up making subconscious choices that feel incredibly safe in the moment, but actually destroy our wealth over time. To stop losing money, we have to recognize these specific processing errors. Until we identify the glitches in our own biological hardware, our efficiency will continue to work against us. The first major error is a time glitch, known as hyperbolic discounting. Behavioral economists also call it present bias. This is the brain's tendency to heavily favor an immediate small reward, while severely discounting the value of a much larger reward that requires waiting. This is an excerpt from a paper published in the Journal of Behavioral Decision-Making. It outlines the mathematical models of intertemporal utility, showing exactly how our preference for instant gratification overrides our logical long-term interests. Looking further down the text at how different decision-making types operate, we see how this time inconsistency explains why a person might choose a small luxury today, fully knowing it directly compromises their retirement stability decades from now. Our biological hardware also struggles with assessing financial danger, creating a second category of errors: risk glitches. The most damaging of these is loss aversion. This animated coordinate plane illustrates a Nobel-winning finding in behavioral finance. Notice how the emotional response curve for losses drops exactly twice as steeply as the curve for gains rises. The psychological pain of losing $100 hurts twice as much as the joy of gaining $100. This skewed perception traps us in the sunk cost fallacy. We will hold on to a depreciating asset, watching it drop further and further, simply to avoid clicking sell and experiencing the sharp emotional pain of a realized loss. Because of these glitches, our brains are literally programmed to buy for immediate pleasure and refuse to sell to escape panic. When the brain is overwhelmed by complex market data, it defaults to another shortcut called anchoring. Curious, analytical tone. Anchoring happens when we latch onto the very first number we see, like a stock's historical high, and use it as the baseline for every future decision, even if current market realities dictate otherwise. We then compound that bad data with overconfidence. We overestimate our own ability to analyze the market and beat the averages, which drives excessive, expensive trading behaviors. But when the data becomes entirely too complex, we trigger the ultimate mental shortcut, the tribe glitch, or herd behavior. We simply do whatever everyone else is doing. This collective instinct bypasses individual logic entirely. It is the exact mechanism that inflates massive speculative bubbles and drives the social pressure to spend beyond our means just to keep up with the Joneses. Whether we are anchoring to an arbitrary number or blindly following a frantic crowd, we are reacting to cognitive illusions instead of mathematical truth. Because these heuristics run on autopilot in our subconscious, you cannot defeat them just by reading about them. You have to design external systems that bypass your brain. The most effective fix is intentional friction. By automating your finances, you remove the decision-making process from your biological control. The moment a paycheck arrives, it splits. One portion routes directly into a locked investment vault, while the remainder goes to checking. By moving the money instantly, this system builds a thick physical barrier, preventing present bias from sabotaging your long-term goals. For the financial decisions you can't automate, the manual override is emotional intelligence. This means developing the self-awareness to notice the physical signs of stress or excitement that happen right before your brain takes a heuristic shortcut. You implement the pause method. You force a mandatory delay, like sleeping on a big purchase for 24 hours, between an emotional trigger and the actual financial transaction, giving your logical brain time to boot back up. Financial success rarely comes from trusting your instincts. It belongs to those who recognize their biological limits and build the systems necessary to outsmart them.